Hey, haven't we all been taught since childhood that some foods are good and we should eat more of them, and some are bad and we should eat less? But what if I told you that this most fundamental classification, this very idea of good and bad, might have been flawed from the start? Today, we are going to deconstruct an idea that I guarantee will completely flip your perspective. It will thoroughly change how you view food, health, and even how we form habits. Before we begin, I need to mention that the content we are deconstructing today is provided by VitaChoice Limited. Alright, let's start directly with this incredibly impactful statement. It was made by a master when commenting on a fairy tale, the kind that teaches children about the sweet magic of sugar. Why such an intense reaction? Because in his view, this seemingly harmless story is precisely the true root cause of all our confused perceptions about food. Yes, this is the contradictory story that is in most of our heads. On one hand, sugar is described as a sweet magic that brings happiness and is a source of energy for the body. But on the other hand, it also becomes a great demon that we must spend a lifetime fighting against and restricting. This gets right to the core issue, doesn't it? This is the central contradiction of the entire narrative. If something is truly as wonderful as magic, why must we control it? If you think carefully, you'll realize that our entire cognitive system regarding food is built upon a logic that doesn't make sense from beginning to end. Part 1. The neutrality of substances. No food is inherently good or bad. Okay, so if the classification of good and bad itself is problematic, what is the truth? Next, we are going to dive deep into the core of this perspective. No food, in its essence, possesses inherent good or bad qualities. Look at this contrast. It is very clear. This is not just saying the same thing in a different way. It is a complete reboot of the thinking model. Traditional view new perspective. The truth of substances. Sweetness is good. Sweetness is just a neutral material property, neither good nor bad. Energy is a reward. Energy is, more precisely, the basic raw materials needed for the body's operation. Food is a reward. Food is better viewed as a tool that needs to be managed. So, you see, this is not a war that needs a winner. It is a relationship that requires us to learn how to manage. The key, therefore, is this: the goodness or badness of food is not its inherent attributes, but a definition plastered onto it by us adults and the environment we are in. Think about it. A child entering this world is like a blank slate. They absorb these adult-given definitions as an unquestionable truth simply by watching and learning. This process is called imprinting. Its power is incredibly strong because it subtly shapes a person's way of seeing the world. A perfectly neutral substance, through this process, gets labeled in the child's mind with tags like, wow, I really want this. This is a reward. Or even, this causes guilt. Part 2. The only objective standard, the body's economy. Well, if the definitions we impose are unreliable, who should we listen to? What is the only truly objective standard for judgment? There is only one answer: our bodies. We need to look at how the body calculates this account and what its operational principles are. Did you know that the body processes everything we eat at a cost? Even foods universally recognized as the healthiest are absolutely not a free lunch. The body must expend its own energy to perform the incredibly complex projects of decomposition, the transformation, and synthesis to turn food into something it can truly use. This statement truly captures the body's economics with precision. In the world of our body, there is no such thing as good or bad. There is only need versus excess. Once you consume something that exceeds the amount the body currently needs, no matter what it was originally, it immediately transforms from a useful resource into a harmful liability. This is the true meaning of the body's debt. Notice that this concept is completely unrelated to the type of food. The only thing that matters is the quantity, even what we consider the most essential and healthy carbohydrates. Once they exceed the body's current demand, turn into a liability that must be processed and stored for the entire body system. This is a form of stress. Part 3. Shifting from willpower to shaping the environment we truly understand how the body operates. Our strategy for cultivating healthy habits must completely change. The focus is no longer on emphasizing strong personal willpower, but on returning to shaping our environment. Think about the word restriction or self-control. It inherently implies an internal struggle and a battle. Where does this war come from? It's because our brains have been pre-programmed with a bunch of erroneous knowledge, telling us that something is super delicious and absolutely essential to eat. So the path is very clear. The environment first applies a labeling. Gee, this is super delicious. The child accepts it as truth and, based on this truth, forms a habit. When they grow up and realize something is wrong, they have to expend enormous efforts to fight against their own deeply ingrained beliefs. Is there a better way? Of course. The fundamental solution is to provide correct knowledge and shape a non-contradictory environment from the beginning. Once we grasp this new perspective, looking at many health-related issues gives us a feeling of sudden clarity. You will find that your gaze is no longer filled with judgment, but with understanding. Imagine a child who has been taught to view the world through the lens of the body's economics since a young age. When they see a sick adult, the first thought that surfaces in their minds would absolutely not be, "Oh, this person has no willpower." No, they'll see something deeper. They will understand that the pain and illness before them are simply the inevitable and logical result of choices made over many years, based on faulty information and labels. So this is nobody's fault. It is a systemic problem related to the transmission of knowledge. Finally, we leave this question for everyone to consider. If the very first lesson we taught the next generation was not about what tastes good or what tastes bad, but about the purest truth of how our bodies operate, would this world be completely different? What a stable and healthy foundation we would be laying for their future.